A circle full of dogs. We put in the work. Let's go in there with a bunch of crazy dogs.
Boom! What's happening, people? Welcome to another episode of Giants Rush. We're one day away from Hard Knocks Part 2, so we've got that to talk about. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you guys piling in the room. Thanks for chilling with us on another Monday. Hope you guys are having a great summer. Last week I had Spartan bail on us, and he bailed again today. So, you know, the stepping in is the truth, because you know the truth is always available to talk Giants football. And I got Chris here, so we're going to chew it up. We're going to talk about Evan Neal. We're going to talk about Priscilla. We're going to talk about free agent signings that are kind of on everybody's mind. We'll talk a little bit about Hard Knocks. So let's welcome in the boys again. Thanks for tuning in. Another episode of Giants Rush. We're coming up, by the way, on our 200th show, and so we're trying to line up some cool people for that. We do have Jordan Renan from ESPN. We've got Sean Marash from WFAN, all coming up this month. So, bang. We do need you guys to subscribe. Hit the button. Subscribe on our YouTube channel. That's where all the interviews are. Helps us out. So help us help you. Let's bring in the guys. Boom. Chris, what's up?
Hey, Craig. What's going on, man?
Hey. What's up? Is you got a sweet new lid, is what I see.
I know. It's like the summer hat, the white one. So I know you got your eyes on it. Maybe you'll get this one. Well, maybe I'll send you one.
I do. I like that one. I got the black on black. I like the white on white. This one's a little on the older side.
Yeah.
It's getting a little beat up. Because I like, me, I like the straight brim.
Yeah, I do too. I do. You know what's funny, Craig? I would wear the black hat, when the Giants were, well, they're still not great, but everybody would say to me, hey, you're wearing a Giants hat. How could you wear a Giants hat? I used to say, well, have you noticed it's black? Black's a sign of mourning. I went away from the blue to black because when they're bad, that was my excuse for wearing it. It's a sign of mourning, wearing the black Giants hat.
Well, look, if you wear the white and I wear the black, it's very fitting because I'm the bad guy. You're always the good guy. Right?
I don't know.
Everybody's like, Chris is always happy. He's in a good mood. He's smiling all the time. He's a good guy. And then they're like,
I'm suffering deep inside. It's all an act. I suffer deep inside. I'm suffering.
You're happy on the outside, right?
That's right.
All right, let's bring in Truth in his piano. Bang. Truth.
What's up, boys?
What's up, Michael? How are you?
Good. And I got my red hat.
He does have his he is the because he is our resident golf pro for any of you folks out there that need rush golf lessons. We do have the doctor here, Truth, on retainer. So if you do need any golf information, tips, be sure to reach out to the Truth there, and I'm sure for a small fee, he can help you improve your golf game. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. By the way, he is a golf pro in the Carolinas, has been for quite some time, at least as long as I've known him. And Truth and I've been together for like 8 years. Me and Truth have been hanging out. So, if your golf game sucks, yeah, right, it's wild. So they see that He's game enough to hang out with me all these years, right? So I can't be that bad. All right, gentlemen. I see Bill in the room. I see Daniel. I'm hoping Mark Thompson jumps in because I forgot to give him a salute last week when we were on the show. I missed him. He was mad at me, so I'm hoping that he pops in here. So I see a couple of you guys. I see a lot of you like tuning in. I see the counter at 50 folks, but I don't see you guys popping in the room. So I'd like to see you guys jump in and ask some questions. So let's start off with a very cool rush topic, and that's Hard Knocks. How can we beat having a show on HBO about our favorite team? So I'm going to start with you, Truth. To tomorrow, 9:00. They roll out episode number 2, or I should say it's show number 2, episode number 2, right? What was your opinion of episode 1? Anything stick out? I mean, I know it's a week old and a lot of people have talked about it. Anything specific that you want to get off your chest?
No, well, not really, but I liked it. It had one scene where I had him talking to the owner, and it looked like he was the guy in the driver's seat, making decision makings, and it looked like Mara was trying to work with him, but it looked like ultimately Shane is the guy to make the decisions. That's what I took from that. And I know it ended with a little bit about Barkley, so I think this next episode we're going to see a lot more about that. What really went down.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I actually got the same exact opinion. I was like, I don't know. Looks like Joe's in charge. Good old Mara looked pretty humble.
Yeah.
Standing there in his office. What's up, Mark? Thanks for hanging out. Yeah. I would say that GM Joe seems to be in charge of the ship. And I think look, Mr. Mara's a sentimental guy. So is his dad. They do favor certain players. Like Wellington loved Jeremy Shockey. You know what I mean? As much as the guy was crazy, loved him. And, Mara loved Eli and so forth. So these guys are emotional guys. And it's hard. You get close to a player, right? They're like family members, Truth.
Yeah.
So I can see, why he's so distraught. I mean, I know, Chris, none of these people care. They just want to win football games just like I do. I hate when my Sunday's ruined all the time. What was your takeaway, Chris? Anything that, as Truth pointed out, it was, hey, GM Joe is in charge. That's a great takeaway. It's a great take from Mike. How about you? Anything that you saw that might have stuck out that maybe a lot of people aren't talking about?
Well, yeah, a couple things. I like the fact that all us Giant fans that are so into this team could relate to those conversations that Joe Shane was having with Dable, Mara, the pro advanced scouts, personnel. I mean, those are the same conversations that we've seen on a number of these Giant shows. So we're not far off from some of our discussions of what we witnessed on that show. And one of the great conversations from the show was when Joe Shane was talking with Dable and some of the other advanced scouts about the free agency, and you saw him going through the list on the computer. Hey, should we get the one stud pass rusher and invest all that money, or should we get a few different type of medium level type players to fill all the holes? And those are the same discussions we're always having. We had those discussions along with other Giant fans this whole offseason, allocating that money to a stud, or because there's so many holes, do we spread it out and just try to fill those holes with some solid players and maybe not get that playmaker?
You know what? That's a great point, because here's the thing. Look, there's 10 Giants podcasts out there. You can choose to spend your free time with all of them. Some of them, we always appreciate you guys spending with us. Mark Thompson's in the building. What's up, Mark? I see my guy Jake is in the building. I see Bill. I see you guys. Mark B, thanks for all hanging out. Here's the thing, guys. Let's just say we're pretty friendly with most of the Giants pods out there, right? Sometimes I can tune in to some of them. Sometimes I'll even drop it in at Spotify, or Apple Pods and listen. I think we're all having some of the same discussions, right? That the actual Giants, are like we're not crazy. We're not making this stuff up. Now, there is a little bit of gray area where we want something done and we don't think economics first like they do, right? But overall, these are the same discussions, at least on this show, that we're having. Do we want pass rushers? Do we want guys that can put, pressure the quarterback from up the middle? Do we want corners or do we want safeties? Do we need to spend the money on McKinney, or do we draft his replacement, spend that money on what, wide receivers or whatever it may be? So yes, 100%. Last week, guys, I don't know if you guys got a chance to listen to last week's episode. I'm cool, of course, if you haven't. My big thing was, my takeaway was a little bit of a stretch, not from the standpoint of it can't be done, but was you see Bowen talking about Simmons playing nickel on first and second down, and then moving to a money backer or a joker backer, in third down, right? So what I said last week, gentlemen, was what I found so striking about that conversation was if Isaiah Simmons is on the field in a nickel, which by the way is base defense in the NFL in 2024. All right. Like years ago, you went straight up 4 DBs and, now they roll with nickel, right? As a base defense, 5 DBs. So Simmons basically slots in as the third safety, right? So if you have 3 safeties, that means you got 1 corner on the field, right? And if you drafted Phillips, guys, you drafted him in the 3rd round, you can't have him not on the field. So my question is, and we won't spend too much time on it, guys, but I'll send it back to you. Truth, what's your thought about Phillips playing outside? He played a little bit in college on the outside. What's your opinion of Phillips actually competing with Flott for the CB2? Because they just told you that in first and second down, Simmons is going to be on the field in a 3 safety look.
Yeah, I mean, I know that kid came with some highlights and some high regards, and he's going to compete also for the slot, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
He is. I just wonder how much slot you're going to run.
Right.
If you've got 3 safeties high, a corner has to come off the field. Are you really going to take your 3rd round draft pick off the field? I don't know. He might be.
I don't know either. I mean, I have concerns about the CB2 position. So I don't know what they're going to do. I really think, though, you're going to see a bigger role with Simmons. I really do. You're going to see him, like they say, wear many hats on defense. I think he'll be moving around different spots. They'll put packages together for him. This could be a good year for him.
Chris, what about you? You're talking about, on Hard Knocks. It was like right out of the gate, you see Bowen talking about, hey, he's going to be on the field on first and second down in the nickel. And he's not playing corner, so he's playing safety. So that means you're on the field with Pinnock, Newbin, and Simmons. So that means you got 2 corners. So you tell me, like, any thought that Phillips is going to compete on the outside? Why would I have my 3rd round draft pick on the bench?
Well, he's a rookie, and now that we have you have Neighbors and you have Slate and Wandell, it's all going to play out in training camp, right? We're going to see how he does in training camp. I just don't want to experiment to the point where that first game against Minnesota, there's still question marks that haven't been answered on Phillips. If he answers those question marks, especially in the joint practices going up against Detroit, who's loaded with receivers, then you know what? Maybe he wins the job. But I think keep an eye on Nick McLeod. I feel like the way they re-signed him, and Dable talked about Nick McLeod in the offseason, I can see him battling for that outside job with Cordell Flott.
I like it too.
Yep.
Dude, he actually played really well the last 2 weeks of the season in McLeod. I was shocked. So that's a great point on McLeod too. So you might have McLeod, Flott, and Phillips all getting reps on the outside. So it's a great point. By the way, pound it out for Jay, sending us a donation this week. Thank you very much. I'm loving it. You guys are happy with us. We are happy with you. All right. So anything else, guys? I don't want to spend too much time on Hard Knocks, but because we got a new episode coming up. We talked about it a lot. Anything else, Chris, that just outwardly needs, maybe that flew under the radar last week that you had some time to think about?
It was interesting with Joe Shane and Dan Morgan. Let's bring it back to this. Because it's the off-season Hard Knocks, in season, we really just deal with our own team, right? It was interesting to see in how Dan Morgan, now that this has been run, how did he feel about that conversation with Joe Shane on the sideline? Dan Morgan's not with the Giants. He's with the Panthers. And the fact that they were talking about Burns and how they could wheel a deal together, very interesting how Morgan was put on the show, and he's not even with the Giants. And how, I guess they would know if he's going on, but it was interesting how they were pretty free with discussions there, and they aired that.
Yeah, well, one, you definitely got, you have to get his permission
Sure.
to put that on there first and foremost. And then, of course, you saw the background that their families are friends.
Oh yeah.
You know, they go on vacation together. So I'm pretty sure it was like another day at the ranch for those two. They're
Sure.
probably, you know, having a little bit of fun, you know, a little bit of side conversations. So,
I mean, he threw Burns' name out of nowhere. It almost made you feel like, wow, is this staged? Did they plan this? Because he willingly just threw that name out, which was interesting.
You notice how they set it up though? Like they're wondering what can we get for him. They're talking about well, at least a first and something, and then suddenly he's talking to that guy on the sidelines, and you can see he was open. Let's talk, and then then as we all know, it was a 2 and a 5. We ended up getting them for. So it was really funny to see how the deal kind of developed. You know,
maybe I can't think that they're that advanced to say, hey, let's start a conversation about Burns that early on. If Hard Knocks filmed like later, you know what I mean? Like early on, I mean, it just feels like they would have had to have some really deep conversations about Burns to bring it up in a nationally televised show. It seemed organic to me. I didn't really think it was forced.
Okay, like you said, they're all good friends. They could have talked about it beforehand. You know, I mean, they even talk about Chris Jones as a possible free agent. A thought, you know, can you imagine that? I mean, that would have, of course, sucked all their cap space. But I mean, what a dynamic duo that would be. Jones
Chris Jones bet on himself and won because you know the year before he didn't have that Chris Jones type of year, and then he bet on himself and came out and balled out. So, all good stuff. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. You'll get a little bit more Saquon. They did put a teaser out there in case anybody hasn't seen it yet. Yep. It's Brown and Shane and Dable and a couple of the other personnel guys. They're sitting in the suite, the booth, you know, the box, and they're talking about 40 times. Okay. And Dabes says, I can run the 40 and under 7. And then he's like, if you put a plate of wings at the end, I can run under 7. And Shane's like, wait a minute. You think you can run the 40 and under 7? Dabes is like, yep. He's like, so you're telling me you're only 3 seconds slower from that guy? And they point down to the field, and somebody's like blazing down the track, you know, running a 4.5, a 4.4. He's like, you're telling me you're only 3 seconds slower than that guy? And he's like, yep. So they had some good fun. And then Dabes looks over into the behind where the rest of the personnel group is like, he's like, you think I could do that, right? And the guy goes, so it was a little bit of a teaser for the next Hard Knocks from Giants offseason. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to something that is near and dear to all of us, and that is the offensive line. Some pretty cool conversation, gentlemen, around the quote. I think it was Dan Dugan, if I'm not mistaken. You guys are all familiar with Dan, does great work, The Athletic. He had a couple minutes with Carmen Bricillo, which is the new, of course, O-line coach. Celebrated offline coach, really, if you think about where we came from. And the question was, do you see Evan Neal playing exclusively right tackle? So, did either one of you guys happen to catch the video? You saw it, Chris?
Yep.
You didn't see it, Truth? Okay. It was sometime earlier today. Chris, I'll read you what he said real quick. Basically, I'll sum it up, and then you tell me what you think. And then Truth, you jump in. So Carmen Bricillo was asked about Evan Neal, if he'll exclusively play right tackle. And the crib notes is that he is looking for a multitude of looks, okay? He wants versatility from his linemen. There will only be 8 on game day, right? And he wants them to be able to play, their linemen to be able to play right to left guard to tackle, guard to center, or guard to guard. So he wants to be able to, each individual player that he has to be able to play multi-positions. So if you're a guard, you can play tackle. If you're a guard, you can play center. If you're a guard on the right side, you can play guard on the left side. Versatility is what he was after. And then, of course, he ended it by saying, yes, we're focused on right tackle, but that's not all we're focused on. What's your take here, Chris? Because I thought the best part of it, Chris, was when he goes, I apologize for giving you a cookie cutter, answer, but this is really what it was. And it's the first time that I've ever heard a coach acknowledge that coaches give out canned answers.
That's
I
nice,
was like,
yeah.
and props to Shawnee B. Joker, he's been loving this guy, for a while. What's up, Sarah? Glad to have you aboard. Really, I'm really digging this guy, Chris. I'm really digging this guy.
Yeah. Few players have come out and said it's great to have a teacher, or they're less yelling, more teaching. I think, Carmen Brasillo comes from the school of Scarnicchia. Everybody has to be able to switch around. Dressing 8 on game day, we saw last year, Giants, going to the Eagles practice squad to grab a player. I mean, these guys, Neil included, whether he's playing well or not, needs to be flexible to move to guard. And obviously, if he doesn't play well, that might be where he's going. But I think he's doing the right thing. Guys need to be interchangeable at certain spots. I'm not a big fan of maybe center. I want a guy that's played center, and we have what would you say? Truth Hutchinson is the one backup center right now.
I thought it was the other guy, Schlosserman?
Maybe Schlotman. So, I'd rather keep our centers with centers, but the other guys, they got other than Thomas, Andrew Thomas as well. These guys got to be interchangeable at some point with injuries. You only dress 8. We've seen with this offensive line, the injuries in the past, the Zudu, McKeith, and these guys, I don't know. We got to be able to put guys in different spots if needed.
I'm curious that he already said only 8, because I usually think they always have 9 on the 53-man roster the last few years.
I thought he meant dressing 8. Didn't he say?
Yeah,
I thought he meant dressing
he said
8.
Game day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 9, there could be 9, healthy scratch, practice squad, but he said 8 on game day. So
isn't game day? Don't they have 53 players on the field? Isn't it 53 players on the roster?
53 active, 46. Or they moved to 48, 46, or 46 or 47 on game day dress.
Okay.
53 on the roster.
53 is just your quote unquote active roster. That doesn't mean they all dress on game day.
Yeah.
However, I do appreciate the fact that he answered the question straight out and was like, we're going to concentrate on him playing tackle, but, we're also going to see what he can do playing guard. And the other way around, right? He's going to see what these guys are good at. Maybe, it turns out that one guy playing the left should be playing the right. Who knows, right? So how would you know that unless you got these guys more reps at other positions?
Yeah.
Right?
Best way to find out. Move them around.
Yeah. Really impressed with his answer. And like I said, he called himself out. Was like, hey, I'm sorry to give you a canned answer or a cookie cutter answer, but this is realistically what we're looking at. I need a multitude of looks and I need versatility. So really cool stuff from Carmen Brasillo. And thank you guys. I see you guys are still piling in the room and checking us out. This is NY Giants Rush. We're here every Monday, 52 weeks of the year, 8 p.m. YouTube channel is Giants Rush. I could use a huge favor. I'll give you a big hug. Pounds. Go out there and subscribe. Helps us out. Do some cool stuff. And we appreciate you guys. NYGiantsRush.com's got all the articles. Truth is usually the most, active there, but he's always giving you great content there. The interviews are up there. And of course, for you fantasy football guys, just if you didn't see my tweet yesterday or the day before, the Rush Ballers League is back. Okay, so if you want to play fantasy football against Spartan Mike, just shoot him a DM and let him know you want in. And then I will activate the website and you guys can register there. Joe won last year. He actually beat Spartan Mike's ass. And the grand prize was an autographed Amani Toomer jersey. Now, I haven't gotten this year's main prize yet, but again, the Ballers League for fantasy football, Rush Fantasy Football, is back year 2. So please shoot Spartan Mike a DM. Tell him you're going to kick his ass and that you want in, and we'll make sure we hold the spot for you. So, all right, business aside, guys, let's move to the next topic. Put a bow on Hard Knocks and Carmen Brasillo, and let's move to something that when I saw it, I was like, I don't know if I loved it or hate it because I didn't think of it. So maybe I hate it because it wasn't my idea. Truth. Article came out today. I shouldn't give them a plug because I used to actually write for Bleacher Report back in the day. In case anybody wants to know, NY Giants Rush started because Bleacher Report fired me. And you know why they fired me? Not because I wasn't the bomb, because I was the shit. I was the Giants featured columnist for like 2 years back in the day. And then Turner came along, Turner Sports came along and bought Bleacher Report, and they got rid of everybody. So I was part of that group. But you know what, though? We made Giants Rush to step in its place. And we are definitely, just so you know, we're not big as Bleacher Report. So hell with you guys. All right. Now, I will say, just having some fun, I will say that Bleacher Report did crank out something today I found unique. Chris, Truth, starting with you. A couple guys on here, Mike, that might be available to sign. They're free agents. Some will cost money, some will not. I'm going to start off with the one that stuck out to me the most as a absolutely impossible was Patrick Peterson. So,
Yeah.
Truth, we know how good Patrick Peterson is, right?
Yeah.
But he's past his prime. I mean, the guy's got I think he's an 8-time Pro Bowler.
Hodgins ate him up a couple years ago, if we remember.
Yes, he did.
Hodgins made him look bad in that playoff game. We rode the back of Hodgins into the playoffs and made Patrick Peterson look bad. And then the Steelers signed him for $7 million a year, right? So, wow. I don't see Patrick Peterson giving anybody a discount.
Mm-hmm.
So, Truth, my question is, the Giants have almost $11.5 million left on the cap. Do you want Patrick Peterson? Because if you sign Patrick Peterson, you're basically saying that he's CB2. He comes in as CB2. There's no competition. No anything.
I think if he was the missing piece, then you have the cap space, yeah. And I do believe you're paying for the old Patrick Peterson and not the current one with that amount of money. I would pass on him. Even though I do have concerns at CB2, I think we have a good collage of guys who can collectively hold down the fort.
I agree with that. I do totally agree with that. We watched what Hodgins did to him in the playoff game, and I'm like, man, I don't want to see that. I don't want that Patrick Peterson. All right, Chris. Well, let me try one on you. Truth and I are saying no to Patrick Peterson because that cat cost too much money. Yes, you are correct, Mark Thompson. We are not interested in Patrick Peterson. that cat costs way too much cash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me throw the next one out there that Bleacher Report said that we should entertain before camp starts. They want us to make these moves before camp starts, which is, a couple weeks away. The next one has it's kind of interesting because I don't really think he's going to cost a lot of money here, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants have a unique wide receiver room, right? They got a shifty Wan'Dale Robinson who's completely healthy now, right? 1.5 years removed from a knee injury. You know that guy's a workout fiend. Mm-hmm. He does move the chains. He's basically owns the slot now because Sterling Shepard is no longer on the team. And then on the outside, you got Isaiah Hodgins as a red zone threat. You got Malik Neighbors, our first round pick, as your downfield threat. Mm-hmm. You've got Bryce Wheaton Ford, who's out there coming back from ACL, I think it is.
Yeah.
ACL injury.
And don't forget Boykin, a couple of these guys they picked up.
Yeah, Boykin, even they brought McKenzie in from Buffalo.
Yeah.
Interesting
Allen
wide
Robinson.
receiver room.
Yeah.
What's that?
Allen Robinson, right? Allen Robinson's there.
Allen Robinson. Bunch of very interesting, wide receivers. But this guy happened to be at one time one of the best receivers in the game, and people were thinking this guy was going places, but he's basically in the tub most of the season. Wide receiver Michael Thomas. Probably could get him on a prove it deal. What do you think, Chris? Is that something that you have any interest in? I mean, like I said, at one point he was, one of the top 10 wide receivers in the game. Tons of talent. Can't stay healthy.
Yeah, the injuries. He's 6'3", which is nice. I'd like to go into camp with what we have to see how this plays out. A guy like Michael Thomas is probably holding out to get out of camp and wants more money now. As you know, as we get through camp, these prices go down, becomes more of a buyer's market. And let's see how everything plays out. We're going to have some injuries. As much as we think everybody's going to be healthy, it's going to happen. So at that point, let's see how it all plays out going into the end of August. And maybe it is a one-year prove-it deal at that point if it's not, worthwhile at the receiver position. I mean, God forbid Allen Robinson goes down, then maybe that opens a door for a 31-year-old in Thomas.
And you're going to have other wide receivers.
Oh yeah,
being available as we move forward week by week. So yeah, I think Chris is right. I think you play the patient waiting game right now.
Yeah, and it's funny that since they do the cuts that last week now, all at once, we always see names on there like, oh my God, this guy got cut. How did this guy not make the team? So there's always some surprises, which there'll be some decent guys on for the roster available. But I'm curious to see how this all plays out with the receiving core right now that the Giants have.
And as I mentioned last week, guys, Kenny Pickett was on my hometown field here in South Jersey working out. And my son was, training, because he's, we're football crazy here, and he's going after the quarterback spot as a sophomore. And it just turned out that Kenny Pickett, who's, throwing on my local turf, is throwing to a Giants wide receiver. I mentioned this last week. He's throwing to a Yair Asante. And, he's a Wyoming guy, young guy. I DM'd him, really cool cat. So, he had an unbelievable productivity at Wyoming. So there's a bunch of guys on this roster. I kind of think I'm with you guys that Michael Thomas is not something that I overly think that would make a difference unless somebody went down. Right.
I think if a couple of players went down, then you think about Michael Thomas.
Fair enough. That is very, very truth-like. Right there. That was perfect. All right. So let's keep moving because there are two other rumors out there. One of them I'm not even really sure. And we can just address this real quick. Trade for Najee Harris. I don't even know really where that comes from. I don't know enough about Pittsburgh. Is he not happy? Does he want out? Does anybody, either one of you guys, have anything?
I heard nothing about that. I had nothing that he wasn't happy or they're not happy with him.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, guy's a good player.
Yeah. And what do you think it would take to get him? What kind of compensation?
I don't even know. It was like one of these things that just came across my feed. Giants should trade for Najee Harris. And I was like, I didn't even have time to slow down and read it. I just saw the headline. So I was like, I don't know, maybe something happened. Maybe he's not happy. Maybe, they're going to tag him. I don't know. So if anybody knows or anybody has any background on this, why there is a discussion on trading for Najee Harris, I would be inclined to listen. So
I mean, he's a big time feature back, right? If that was ever going to become a possibility, then Singletary's role would be greatly diminished.
Oh yeah,
that never happened.
Yeah. Najee Harris would become your starter.
Yeah, and as Pittsburgh, don't you want to take the pressure off Fields or Russell Wilson with the stud running back? Why would they give him up? Why would they? You know what I mean?
In Pittsburgh. Who they got running backs?
Well, that's my point. So if anybody's
Yeah.
out there and they're scouring the internet, you'll see some chatter out there about
You know what,
Najee
Craig? Throwing
Harris.
stuff at the wall, right? People love to
Yeah.
throw stuff at the wall and get discussions going. I mean, that
All right.
seems crazy.
This one is not throwing something at the wall. This one is like legit that could possibly be something that the Giants did. I am not endorsing it. I'm not saying that they should. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. Oh, I'll tell you what I think about it, but I don't really have, much to tell you past the article I read on Bleacher Report, which you are more than welcome to read. And that would be, and by the way, I had no idea that this guy signed a 1-year deal. So that's what grabbed my attention. And that's Dalvin Cook. All right. Dalvin Cook really didn't get on the field for the Jets very often last year. I don't know if he was nicked up or what. But here's the thing, guys. I'm not the biggest Dalvin Cook fan, but 2 years ago, he had 1,400 yards from scrimmage. Like, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty good. I don't really know what happened. If he didn't like New York, he didn't like the Jets, didn't like the playbook, I don't know. Maybe he was dinged up.
I mean, they fed Breece Hall quite a bit last year, right? So I mean,
Breece Hall's a good workhorse. I think a lot of Giant fans or whoever the media are sleeping on a couple of Giant running backs that we have that I think are going to have pretty decent years, a decent year. I really
expound on that because I'm definitely sleeping on Giant running backs right now.
So, I think Singletary is going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree that. No, Singletary is a very underrated guy, and I tweeted out a little clip of him running this past week. Like, I think he's just a little underrated. Maybe he's a little bit of a late bloomer, but what about the rest of the running back?
Well, I really like that kid they drafted. I think it's Tyrone Tracy, I believe his name is. I like that kid.
Shawnee B loves him.
I got a feeling about that kid. I think he's going to he's going to be the fan favorite when he starts to play. He has that breakaway playmaking ability, and that's what fans, they crave that stuff. They really do. They eat it up. And obviously the coaching staff would love that as well.
Yeah, well, because we haven't had anything like that.
You remember when Meggett came along, nobody knew Meggett, and this guy just ignited and just electrified and just got the fans involved. And I think this kid Tracy can do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your big featured backs that we've had over the years with Joe Morris, Rodney Hampton, Tiki Barber. I mean, listen, Tiki Barber's a second-round pick out of Virginia Tech. Nobody knew he was going to be that good. I almost think he had laser eye surgery, and all of a sudden he became great.
No one saw that coming, right?
No one saw that coming.
It's a punt returner. Yeah,
exactly. And we got to give credit to Shawnee B because he's all over Tracy. But I happened to do the workup on him for our draft show for the website. And, my big thing was, he played wide receiver, prior to him getting to Purdue. And I was just like, why are we taking a guy that predominantly plays the slot? Now we're going to make him a running back. But he does. There is something sneaky good about Tracy. There is something good. It's got a good vibe. So I think that's interesting, Truth, that you brought that up. I don't know, Chris, does Dalvin Cook even fit on the Giants?
Well, my only concern with the running backs right now, and I think not at this point, very similar to the receivers. Let's see how this plays out with the joint practices, with getting through training camp, injuries. My question is, Eric Gray wasn't good in pass pro. We haven't seen Tyrone Tracy pass pro at the NFL level. We've seen a lot of these running backs can't stay on the field on third down because they can't protect. So if this becomes an issue, you bring in a guy like Cook, a veteran that can pass protect. Interesting enough, I wonder if Andre Patterson, the defensive line coach for the Giants, has any say if there were some discussions about bringing Cook in. He was with Minnesota. He was with Cook. So I'm wondering, as this plays out, as we get closer to the season, if they lose faith in the running back unit, or is it something that they feel they need to fill a spot?
Hey, Chris, and Craig, you can answer this too. What's one of the best ways to slow down a pass rush? What do you think? So one of the best ways to slow down a pass rush?
Go ahead, Craig.
Well, I mean, most of the time you're either putting a tight end out there, right, to help your tackle, or you're chipping, right? So your tackles hat on hat straight up
or screens, right? Screens too.
Yep,
Yeah.
and exactly. And I think you're going to see with this giant offense, I think you can see more screens. You can see more little flare outs with the running back, with Singletary, who's known for that. He did that with Buffalo. You're going to see that with this kid Tracy, because as Craig said, he was a former wide receiver, so you know he's got good hands. And that's one way you can slow down that rush. A quick little screens, a little flare outs, real quick. I mean,
I'm
put the
hoping,
ball in
like-
their hands. Put the football in their hands and let them make plays. That's what they got to do.
And Mike, and you read my mind, because where I was going was like having Bellinger chip, on the DN and leak out into the flat, right? Instead of just running them straight off the line, let them stay in, a delayed release or a quick chip, right? And then out into the flat, you've got Bellinger, because Bellinger's going to be your tight end number one. And, he's going to get a chance to, look, if he stays healthy, Bellinger's going to be a 600-yard guy with 6 touchdowns.
And
You know what I mean?
reliable, right?
Yeah. He's not George Kittle. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not going to be Kelsey. But again, Bellinger got hurt, started off really hot, got hurt. Then they made him a blocking tight end. So, yeah, slowing down that pass rush with screens, bubble screens, flares, wheel routes. Yeah, without a doubt. I think the key is guys like McKenzie and guys like Wandale, guys like Tracy are good out of the backfield, and, they're versatile, right? So you don't have to throw the ball to the receivers all the time if your backs can do it. So a guy like Cook could help you in that. If you don't get what you want, Cook can help you there.
Yep. And you know what, Craig and Mike, we already saw Brightwell get released. I think, look at Eric Gray and the Joshua Corbin competition. I think Joshua Corbin could possibly beat out Eric Gray for a spot.
Or somebody off that's cut or released could be that fourth
Sure.
or third running back.
Turbo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you though. I guess I'm old fashioned, old school. Every word you want to use. If they're going to put any kind of money from that 11 million they have in cap, I like to see it go into the trenches, either side of the ball, either side of the ball. I don't care. Yep.
Bang. And that's why we call him the truth, because that, my friend, is realistically the only thing they should be doing, is sitting around watching somebody get cut, somebody that gets paid too much money, somebody coming back from injury, somebody that they don't want to be patient with anymore. I don't even give a shit. I really don't. We've got guys that are good. This line is better. It's not fixed. So again, I've tweeted out about what's his name, Chris, who we had a long conversation with from Green Bay.
Tiari. Yeah.
Bakhtiari. Yeah. I don't care.
Tackle, yeah. Well, I'll give you another name. Connor Williams just came off injury and announced that he's ready to go. There's a veteran that was with the Cowboys, guard, could possibly be somebody to keep an eye on.
Yep. Bring him in.
Guard and tackle, I think.
Yeah.
Bring them in. What'll piss me off, I'm all for supporting GM Joe, but what'll piss me off is if he lets these linemen slip through his fingers, because I don't want to hear we signed a backup from Tampa, or we've signed the backup from Minnesota. I want a guy that's played in the NFL, who has snaps under his belt. Some of these guys want to play to prove their last team wrong. Some guys just love the game. But truth, you're 1,000% right. You got $11.5 million. I don't care what you got to do, but you got to find another quality, not a journeyman, not a guy that's bounced to 4 teams. Again, they don't grow on trees, and there's not a lot of them out there.
And teams need them, right? They're tough to give up. They all need them. So that's the other flip side.
Mark Thompson says, I'm going to put this up here because I'm like, this is shocking. He says, I have faith in Gray. Corbin won't make the team. And you're right. Corbin may not make the team. But what in the world gives you any faith in Gray? He was like...
Yeah, he didn't show...
He didn't show
He's
anything.
only a rookie, though. I see where Mark's coming from. He was only his rookie year.
And in pass protection, he got beat up. He
really is the only big power back, for maybe short yardage. I don't
know. He doesn't display any power. Like like you look at him. Listen, I honestly think Tracy has more power than Gray. You know what I'm saying? Like you look at some highlights or some film on Tracy. Tracy's got a lot more power than Gray. Gray to me looks like, hey, I'm only Saquon Barkley light. I got big legs, but I ain't pushing nobody. So I appreciate Mark Thompson believing in Gray, especially since my son's name is Gray. So I'm basically just saying maybe you have faith in my son. So, but that cat cannot bring it.
I hope Mark's right. I mean, hope he's right. I would.
Oh,
so both of you guys firmly believe that we're going to see the back coming from either could be a trade or from a roster cut be on this team come opening day. Not Gray.
See, the thing about Gray is you just drafted him last year and he's cheap, so there's no way they're giving up on him on year 2. I don't think he brings anything to the table, and he doesn't play any special teams. And he, maybe this year, maybe just a little bit of a late bloomer, right? But no, Mike, they're not getting rid of a guy what was he, a 5th round pick? 6th round pick?
5th.
I mean, like, there's no way they're getting rid of a 5th round pick who's cheap. They're just not. They kept Gary Brightwell for 95 years, and that guy did nothing.
He played special teams. That's why he was stuck around.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do truth believe it's Singletary, Tracy, Gray.
Who's that 4th guy? They keep 4 running backs, don't they?
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess it depends how many receivers they carry, but I don't even know who the 4th guy is.
So you got Corbin, you got Dante Miller. So that's what you're looking at.
Dante Miller is the fastest of the bunch.
Fast guy. He could be a gadget guy, 3rd down. We don't really know, what to expect from him.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So no, truth. I do not think the Giants will cut him. I think they'll keep him. He's only in year 2 and he's cheap. Right.
Okay.
I still go back to the fact that any moves from the July 8th, 2024 until camp opens up should be fixated on finding more linemen. And if they don't like them, cut them. I don't care if you write their contract on a napkin.
Let me throw a scenario out to both you guys. Knowing what we have right now on our current roster and depth charts, if cuts came out and you had an opportunity to get a quality lineman or quality pass rusher for around the same amount of money, where would you go?
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm gonna go with the offensive lineman without a doubt, with one of the guards, because I'm thinking this way: Neal doesn't work out. Illuminor is a nice transition to right tackle, and that opens up a guard spot. So I would think if they can find a guard, which would probably be I don't think a great tackle will be out there, but a stud guard might. I mean, a good guard might. So I would. This offensive line, I can't take it anymore. I'd go with the offensive line.
Okay.
Me too. Same thing, Truth. You know why? Because I know that Bowen, the new defensive coordinator, was a top 15 sack team with nobody. Mm-hmm. I mean, like he didn't have a Bobby Okereke. He didn't have a Thibodeau. He didn't have a Dexter Lawrence.
He had Simmons. That was it. He had Simmons in the middle. That was it.
So I'm chalking it up that, this is a Vrabel disciple, and he's going to be aggressive, and he's going to put his stamp on this defense. So listen, and even McFadden and Simmons can both blitz, like Simmons off the edge, McFadden in the A gap, so I'm comfortable with the pass rush. I do think some people may be a little disappointed, right? Burns, I don't know if Burns is going to get you 15 sacks, but I'll take the lineman any day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Truth? You say you're in the same bucket?
Yeah, I mean, I am leaning towards lineman. But it's hard to. It's you want to. I know he talked about Bowman talking about getting to the quarterback in that first show on Hard Knocks. He did talk about that a lot. I don't know what they would do if a quality pass rusher was sitting right there. You know, I don't know what they would do. I mean, but I understand both of you guys' points. You know, enough with the offensive line. You know, we've had enough. We really have.
Yeah, for the love of God. That's why I was saying, like, I was late last year when it was all falling apart. I was like, man, just trade for a lineman. Give up something really good and get a lineman, or draft. Bakatari. We talked about him. The thing about him, I tweeted that out, Jay, 2 weeks ago. A lot of conversation around it. You know, he has already said he won't switch positions. So the only thing he brings to the table is being a backup to Andrew Thomas, you know, because he's not going to play guard. I don't even know if he can, but he already said he would not switch positions. Said he wants to win a Super Bowl, but he doesn't want to switch positions.
Well, don't come to the Giants if you want to win a Super Bowl this year. Wait till next year. Well, come on, let's be realistic. Make the playoffs. That'd be great.
Exactly.
Win a game.
But I'm all for, you know, either you find that somebody who's going to get cut, or, you know, you trade. You know what I mean? You package up. I hate to say it, but you package up something. I don't know what it is, but this team is so much better if Zach Martin's on this team, right? Or if, I don't know, pick a guy. You know what I mean? Trying to think of a younger lineman, middle of the road, you know. Yeah, Lane Johnson. You know what I mean? Like I'm all for it. If you're telling me I can trade for a lineman and get 3 years out of him, and the guy's a dog, let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know nobody wants to give up players,
but other teams have problems with cap space.
Yeah,
you know?
it
happens every year.
But you don't see quality offensive linemen really.
Yeah, Jay says that right here. I'll throw it up there. It's not like they're sitting around. But hey, look, straight off the couch, Justin Pugh hasn't been re-signed either. So
right.
Yeah, I know, Cole. Hey, Cole, what's up? Good to see you. Yeah, they all are a bunch of dreams, but
I think, Craig, to your point, a guy coming off an injury that has declared himself healthy to pass a physical, like a Connor Williams, 1-year deal at some point, see what he can do coming off the bench and earn a spot. I think that's probably the most likely answer, is a good player coming off injury that you really don't want to risk starting, but working them into the roster.
You know, yeah, you know, I see Cole's comment here, second from the bottom. No team's giving up a good lineman. Of course, you don't want to give up good linemen, but things happen in the NFL. We got how many teams we got in the NFL? 32 teams.
32.
Right? Things happen. Some teams might have depth at a certain position. They can't keep all of them, and you might see an interior lineman. Unfortunately, they might try to sneak them through waivers to get to the practice squad, and that's what happens every year. Yeah. And people gobble them up. So it's not impossible. It really isn't.
Yeah. Also, too, Jay said that Pugh wasn't good. Remember, though, like, Pugh wasn't training for football. When we interviewed him, in case, you know, anybody wants to see that interview, it's on the YouTube channel, Justin Pugh. He said that he was so desperate to put weight on because he wasn't big enough. Like, he was eating bad food. Like, he wasn't putting good weight on. He was putting bad weight on, which didn't make sense.
I wish we would have asked him what the bad food was. Chinese buffet, Wendy's. I want to know what the bad food was.
I thought he said Twinkies. I mean, he was saying he was eating. I think he was saying he was eating bad stuff. I remember he was saying he was putting weight on, just not good weight.
Right. Yep.
You know, and
but
again,
that's interesting. Justin Pugh, we haven't heard his name. I don't know what. Is he still training? Do we know?
To
come back, or is he just going to the business end of things now?
Again, something that we've been talking about is doing a tailgate with Justin. You know, maybe on FanFest. We don't know if that's going to come to fruition or not, but he told me that it's really hard for him to make plans because he still might be playing.
Good.
Even though he's got a gig now on XM, even though he's going to come and hang out with us, he still may get some offers to come play. So he's actually working out right now where he wasn't before.
I wish we knew his weight. We got to find out what he's weighing now, because I could have sworn he said he was at 270, which is so light. I hope he's 300 now.
I'm gonna ask him right now, see if he responds. What do you want? You want to know how much he weighs?
What is he?
And that's
What's
that's
his?
so
Yeah.
that's such a crazy text to send him. Hey, how much you weigh?
You can't
I'm
ask a
gonna say-
woman that question, but you can ask Justin Pugh that as an offensive
Yeah,
lineman.
okay, we're live on the podcast talking about your.
We're trying to endorse him.
Give us bench and squat while you're at it,
Wait,
and deadlift.
where are you now? All right, I'm sending him this. He may tell me to go to hell, but I mean,
Blame me.
but I did send it.
Awesome. All right.
Um,
Nah, he's cool. He understands. He'll get it.
yeah. We'll see if he gets back to me. I mean, I don't know if he would get back to me that fast. Who knows? But Justin's a good dude.
Yeah. He is.
Justin is still he's still doing his show. So Bill, let me throw this up here. Bill says, he's still doing his show on a regular on Clean Pocket Show with Colt McCoy, Shipley, and Gruden. Well, that's cool. Yeah, Pugh is good. Pugh is good at what he does, without a doubt. He's definitely a fan favorite, straight shooter. You know,
And he was on NFL radio a few weeks ago. He did a good job.
Yeah, he's got a future, no doubt about it.
he does.
Hey, look,
Yeah,
man,
he does.
we all know that Syracuse spits out some of the best communications,
That's their thing,
graduates
yeah.
in the
Mhm.
country, right?
Great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So for what it's worth, all right. So that's look, we're kind of winding down here. Definitely, Hard Knocks tomorrow at 9:00. We have Jordan Renan from ESPN. Hang on. So he's just sent me. Let's see. Okay, got it. All right, Jordan Renan from ESPN will be on July 22nd on that Monday.
Perfect. Right before training camp kicks off.
Right before,
Awesome.
Yep, before training camp, and then our guy Sean Marash. Hang on, working on that one. I know Marash was jamming with a bunch of stuff. So all right, I sent out. He's on vacation right now. Marash said that he'll potentially at the end of July. So we might go back to back. Jordan Renan on the 22nd, Marash on the 29th. So just to give you guys a heads up what's on the docket. And I did shoot Jesse Armstead a note too, because I'm trying to find out why I can't get players to interview anymore. It seems like the Giants PR folks are shutting them down for interviewing with us. So trying to see if I can get some inside info. We might have, Sean and I were talking about it. Maybe we might have to get credentials from the team, so we can get some of these guys to interview
How
us.
do you
So,
do that? How do you do that?
I don't know. I'm going to have to call my good friend John Fennelly, and John will tell me what hoops I got to jump through. Because we usually have players on. It's very hard to get the players, right? What's our motto? We tell you what the players tell us.
Yeah.
We haven't had any players in a while. They're difficult to get. So we are working on that. Again, fantasy football, play against Spartan Mike. Make sure you send him a DM. And hey, guys, by the way, two things. Tell your friends. Tell your friends that about the YouTube channel. The announcement that I kind of made last week a little bit, and this is going to be news to Truth because he doesn't even know yet. When Truth and Spartan do their Wednesday show, which is called Rush Hour, we are going to make that exclusive. We're going to make that a subscription show. So you pay $1 a month, $12 a year, and you get access to all the free agent draft rush hour talk that Spartan Mike and Truth do every single Wednesday. So that will become a exclusive subscription, right? A Rush subscription. It's $1. It'll be $12 a year. Gives you access to all their insights, and they're going to have fantasy football guys on. They'll have sports betting guys on. They'll have draft guru guys on. So whoever they have on, they're already working out their roster of guys and so forth. But when Rush Hour kicks back off, just so you guys know, that we'll have a subscription model for the Wednesday Rush Hour show, exclusive content that you won't be able to get anywhere else. That's just exclusive to us. So that's all I got, guys. Anything, Truth, you want to end with? Anything on your mind?
No, I'm just like you said it earlier. I'm looking forward to this Hard Knocks. I think it's going to be really compelling every step of the way each week. I don't know how many episodes there's going to be, but
I think it's 5.
yeah, there's 5. Okay, so they're going to put a lot in each one. So, and I think this week we'll see a lot more about the Barkley drama, what happened, and what really went down. So that's what I'm looking for.
Is it always on Tuesdays?
I think so. Yeah, 9 o'clock,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
9 o'clock?
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So 9 o'clock tomorrow. Either get a subscription to HBO. No plug for them. They're not paying me for this. But I love Dominic Hickson. Good dude, Jay. That's right. I love Dominic Hickson. Guy is a quality human being.
That was a good interview. That was a good interview.
Was a great interview. I don't know. Truth. What was your bet? What was your favorite interview we did?
I like Paul Dottino. I get a kick out of him every time he comes on. I really do.
We'll get Paul. We'll get Paulie D back. How about you, Chris? What's your favorite?
I was going to say Paul, just because he's so off the wall at times. But I tell you, substance. Ryan Dunleavy, I think does a heck of a job with just the little nuggets, and Jordan too. But I guess we haven't had Jordan for a while. But Ryan just seems to always drop some good stuff, man. We've had so many.
Gem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little partial because I think my favorite interview might have been the first time we interviewed Chase Blackburn, and he had his whole family with him, and they were seeing a minor league baseball game, and he sent his wife and the kids. I think he's got 3 boys, maybe 4 boys, and he sent the wife and the kid in to watch the game, and we interviewed him from the parking lot. And he said he would give us 20 minutes, and he was on for an hour and a half. And he was like, I don't like baseball anyway. I mean, it was like, it was great. And he told us that story, how the Giants cut him, and Spagnuolo became the coach of the Rams and called him and said, hey, can you come for a tryout? And Blackburn said, when? And Spagnuolo said, now. Go to the airport, get on a plane, and be here in the next 5-6 hours. So he ran out of the house, threw a bag together, flew out of Newark to LA. And then when he got there, it was like kind of like a cold, because I guess he flew overnight. Kind of a cold, like damp day.
Might have been St. Louis, yeah.
I'm sorry, I said LA. Yeah, St. Louis. And he didn't have cleats. He forgot his cleats. And he tells the story on how the facility is closed. The equipment manager's not there. They're like digging through the trash can for cleats that someone threw away. And he couldn't find a pair of whatever he wears, 13s, 12s. So he had to do a tryout in sneakers. And of course he bombed.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So Blackburn was definitely one of my favorites.
Craig,
as far as
when you say that, it was a funny one when we had Tolleson on. He talked about in the airport. Weight? Yeah, he ordered like 500 wings or something.
Right. Dave was funny.
Yeah,
Dave was funny because he was making fun of Bellinger when he said, hey, I saw. I'm not Bellinger. He was making fun of Ballard when Ballard said he was $299, and he goes, who the heck says they're $299? You're not. If you say you're $299, you're 300 plus. He's like, why don't you just say you're 305 pounds?
Oh man.
Yeah, and that was great. Yeah. By the way, Truth, that's a good pick for you because that was like the first player we ever interviewed was Dave Tolleson and Lawrence Tynes. They were the first two guys we ever. Yeah, Tolly was the first guy we ever interviewed. First beat guy we had was Russ Salzberg.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah. I remember him too. Yeah, Thompson was fun. He was fun. He was very engaging. Really
Bill wants to know. I'm gonna put this up here just because in case anybody else has it. So, do you guys have a playlist with all your interviews? I'm still kind of new here. So, Bill, great question. If you go to the YouTube channel Giants Rush, there is a tab that says interviews. When you click it, it literally lists all the interviews from Kavika Mitchell to Matthias Kiwanuka to Blackburn to Kurt Warner. Yeah, it lists them all there. So there's, I don't know, 40, 50 interviews with players and beat guys. So YouTube channel, I'm assuming you've already subscribed because you're with us all the time.
Yeah,
and then just click the tab that says interviews, and in a bubble will pop up, and it literally shows you the interview of every player we've ever done over the last, 3 years. So yeah, all there. If you still have any trouble, just DM me and I'll
Yeah,
send you
I
the
think he
link.
found it.
Yeah, I think he just commented he found it. So good job, Bill. Got it.
All right, Bill. Rock and roll.
Cool.
All right, guys. Look, awesome hanging out, talking to you guys. We didn't even talk about Malik Neighbors because we don't want to send anybody off the rails.
Too soon.
Yeah. All I want people to know is like it's fine to go to the strip club, but don't film it throwing cash around.
Yeah, I go there with a big wad of cash all the time. Yeah.
Just making it rain, baby.
Oh, sure, I do that all the time.
Making it rain. Yeah, man. I'm not making a big deal of it. He's having some fun.
Yeah.
So he's gonna make some great plays for us, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Yep. See you, boys.